My dad said, "We're skipping your kid's birthday, money's tight." I believed him. Then I saw his live stream. Bounce house, clowns, piles of gifts for my sister's kids. My son asked quietly, "Mom, don't they need me?" I snapped a photo of their rent check and typed, "Return to sender." By 9 a.m. my dad knocked on my door for 20 minutes until My dad told me a week before my son's birthday that they wouldn't be coming. Said money was tight. I believed him because that's what you do when it's your dad. You believe him even when it feels off. And it did feel off. I told them we didn't need to do anything big. I'd already planned something low-key. A few friends at the park, cake, snacks, balloons from the dollar store. My son just wanted to see his grandparents. He's never been the kind of kid to ask for much. I said if money was the problem, they didn't even need to bring a gift. Just come. Drink coffee. Sit with us. Be part of the day. My mom replied with a thumbs up. My dad said we'll see in a separate text later that night. I assumed that meant no, but I still held on to a bit of hope. Then the morning of his birthday came. My son was eating cereal and talking about whether he should bring his scooter to the park. I opened Instagram out of habit and there it was. My sister's live stream. I tapped it. First thing I saw was a giant bounce house. Bright red and blue, bigger than anything I'd ever rented in my life. Kids were screaming, laughing. Then it panned over to my dad, carrying a tray of cupcakes with little custom toppers. Cartoon characters I recognized from my nephew's favorite show. My mom was decorating a table that had gifts stacked nearly as high as her shoulders. Clowns. A magician. Face painting. One of those photo booth setups with props. Looked like something out of a Pinterest board. I sat there frozen while my son looked over my shoulder and asked kind of softly if that was Grandma and Grandpa's house. I told him yeah. He went quiet. Then he said almost in a whisper, "Don't they need me?" I didn't know what to say. I locked my phone and set it face down. My hands were shaking a little. Not from anger, not yet. From something colder. Like when you realize the people you keep making excuses for aren't just careless. They're deliberate. He went to grab his shoes, still holding the card he made for my dad. Crayon drawings, 10 years old, and he still drew hearts on it. At the park my husband did his best. He kept the music going, grilled hot dogs, made everyone laugh. But I was somewhere else in my head. I kept thinking about all the birthdays we tried to include them in. All the times we'd driven across town just so they wouldn't have to. The thousands we'd quietly spent covering their rent, groceries, even my sister's car repairs. And all the while they made sure her kids got everything. Every single time. That evening I logged into our email. I pulled up the rent check we sent to their landlord every month, the $950 that had gone out like clockwork for over 3 years. I snapped a photo of the PDF. Then I typed out a subject line, "Return to sender." No explanation. No warning. Just that. By 9 a.m. the next morning I was in the shower when I heard it. Loud, fast, relentless knocking at the door. My husband said it had been going on for 20 minutes straight. He didn't open. When I stepped out, still in a towel, my phone was blowing up. 4 missed calls from my mom. 2 from my dad. A single message from my sister that just said, "What the hell did you do?" I sat on the bed and stared at my son's birthday card. The one he'd never get to hand over. The one I couldn't throw away. Then the sound of the front door handle turning. They had used their old key. The sound of the key turning hit something deep in my chest. For a moment I couldn't move. They still had it. From years ago, back when my son was a baby and my parents insisted on having full access in case of emergencies. I never asked for it back. I should have. That was my mistake. The door didn't open fully, just jolted against the chain lock. There was a pause, then a knock. Not a gentle one. My dad said my name like he expected me to come running. Said he didn't know what was going on but we needed to clear the air. My husband stood by the door, arms crossed. Neither of us moved. Then came my mom's voice. Soft, fake concerned. She asked if my son was okay. If we were okay. Like the party with clowns and bounce houses hadn't been streamed publicly with them dancing and laughing just 12 hours before. Like they weren't grinning while my son sat on our couch wondering if he'd done something wrong. I walked back to the bedroom and got dressed fast. When I came out, my dad was still knocking. I opened the door without a word. My husband didn't try to stop me. He knew I needed to hear them say it or not say it. They both looked, not sorry, just uncomfortable. Like they'd shown up hoping I'd smooth it over for them. My mom was holding a pink pastry box. I caught the words "Party City" on a plastic bag hanging from her arm. My dad looked down at the floor. I asked him straight up, "Why lie?" He said it wasn't a lie exactly. Just poor timing. Said they thought we understood that money was tight, and that they didn't mean to hurt anyone. He even tried to say the party wasn't really a party, just a little celebration for the boys starting school. I stared at him. Told him they threw a full carnival. That my son watched it live. That he cried when they didn't show up. My mom jumped in, saying it wasn't about favorites, that I was being too sensitive, and that we could have come if we'd wanted to, as if we'd been invited. Then my dad said the thing that made my stomach turn. He brought up the will. Said if I was really going to make a scene over this, maybe I needed to think about consequences. That it was a shame how some people forget who supported them growing up. That we all make sacrifices. I told them we'd made ours quietly for years. Paid their rent. Paid for my sister's car repairs. Groceries. Emergency dental work. Birthday gifts for her twins when they couldn't afford them. We never asked for anything. Not a thank you, not a favor. They never offered. I told them to leave. My dad hesitated. Said we were family and family works things out. My husband walked up behind me and asked them again to leave, this time firmly. My mom mumbled something like, "This is ridiculous," and turned to go. Before they stepped off the porch, I told them one last thing. The rent was done. Permanently. They'd have to figure it out just like we always did. They didn't respond. That day went by slow. My son didn't ask about them. He just played with his toys and asked if we could go to the arcade next weekend instead. I said yes. I told him next year we'd do something even better. He nodded. Said he didn't really like clowns anyway. Later that evening, after the dishes were done and my husband was putting laundry in the dryer, I checked my phone. 23 notifications. My sister had posted a screenshot of my email. The one with the rent check photo and the subject line, "Return to sender." Her caption was long and smug. He said I was bitter. That I was jealous her kids were happy and mine was raised in silence. Said I ruined a beautiful day with drama and tried to punish our parents for something petty. Then came the comments. Friends of hers. Mutuals. A couple distant relatives. Wow, some people just need attention. Isn't she the one who never shows up to anything anyway? So sad when siblings become enemies. I wasn't surprised. Not really. What got me was the message from my aunt buried under the pile. Just one line. "You did the right thing, Nicole. It's about time." But it was too late. I was already the villain. By Monday morning my phone was a war zone. Missed calls, voicemails, texts from numbers I hadn't saved in years. My cousin from Florida, who I hadn't spoken to since my wedding, messaged to say I was being childish. My mom's sister sent me a paragraph that started with, "This isn't how your mother raised you." My uncle's wife threw in something about how disrespecting elders was never the answer. I didn't reply to any of it. I just muted the group chats and turned my phone over. My husband offered to block them all, but I told him no. Let them talk. Let them get it out of their system. What they didn't know was that I wasn't angry anymore. I was done. That week I started closing tabs in my life. One by one. First I emailed the landlord we'd been paying for my parents. Told him any future rent issues were no longer our concern. I CC'd my dad on it. No reply. Then I removed the shared grocery account we'd been refilling for my sister. Deleted the auto payment from our bank. Cancelled the Amazon Prime they all used. Changed the password. Changed the Netflix. Changed everything. By Wednesday I got another text from my mom. No apology. Just, "Your sister is devastated. Her boys are confused. You really hurt this family." I read it while packing my son's lunch. He wanted pretzels that day. I gave him 2 bags. That afternoon he came home with a drawing in his backpack. It was our little family, just me, my husband, and him, eating cake under a tree. He wrote, "The best birthday" in the corner. I asked if he wanted to hang it up. He said no, it was just for me. Thursday night my sister went nuclear. She posted a long Facebook status saying she no longer had a sister. Said she was done trying to include people who didn't want to be happy for her family. Said people who hold money over others don't deserve to be in their lives. That post got nearly 100 likes. Heart reactions. Some people added comments like, "Proud of you for setting boundaries." The irony wasn't lost on me. But it stung more than I expected. Because for a few seconds I actually believed she meant it. That I really didn't have a sister anymore. I cried in the bathroom. Quietly. Just sat there on the closed toilet lid and let it happen. 10 minutes, maybe 15. My husband never knocked, never called out. He just waited in the hallway like he always does. When I came out he held up a takeout menu and said, "Pizza or Chinese?" Like nothing had happened. I pointed to the Chinese place. He smiled. Later that night I opened a drawer I hadn't looked in for years. It had old letters, birthday cards, receipts I kept for no reason. I found the envelope from when we gave my sister $5,000 for her moving costs. Back when she swore she'd pay us back within the year. That was 7 years ago. I opened another file. A spreadsheet my husband had kept of everything we'd covered over the years. It totaled over $15,000. Rent, bills, birthdays, last-minute emergencies. No repayments. No thank yous. Just expectations. I stared at that number for a long time. Then I closed the laptop. And I said out loud to no one, "That's it." But I knew it wasn't. Because karma doesn't knock once. Circles. Friday morning felt hollow. The kind of quiet that settles when a storm is already on the way but no one wants to admit it. My husband had left early for a meeting. My son was in the living room, half wrapped in a blanket, building a Lego police station with soft humming in the background. I was on my second cup of coffee when the email came in. Subject: urgent notice, past due rent. I clicked, expecting spam. It wasn't. It was from my parents' landlord. Directly to me. He said there were now 2 months of unpaid rent. That he'd waited because of our previous payment history, but needed to know if we were still supporting the lease. Otherwise, he'd have to move forward with a notice to vacate. I stared at the message for a while. Then I archived it. Not more than an hour later, the calls started again. First from my dad. Then my mom. Then 2 more back-to-back from numbers I didn't recognize. I didn't answer. I didn't listen to the voicemails either. Not until the name Marcus popped up. My sister's boyfriend. He left a voicemail saying he just wanted to help mediate. Like it was some kind of business dispute. Said it was all just a big misunderstanding and maybe I didn't realize how hard things had been lately for them. I remembered that Christmas when he messaged me asking for $600 to surprise the twins. Said he'd Venmo me back the next week. That was 3 years ago. I blocked him. Then came a call with no caller ID. I answered out of reflex. It was my mom. She didn't start angry. She went with guilt first. Said the boys had been crying. That my sister wasn't eating. That this had gone far enough. Then when I said nothing, her voice changed. She said she was willing to transfer me $1,000. Right then, if I could just cover this month's rent. Said my dad was trying to sell a few things, and they'd have it all figured out soon. I asked her what things. She hesitated. Then casually said, "Well, we already moved a lot into storage. A few heirlooms. Some furniture. The china set. It's not a big deal, we just need time." That's when something clicked in my head. They were already preparing to leave. Not just move, to lose everything. And they hadn't said a word. Not until the money stopped. Then came the line that gutted me. "You owe us, Nicole. For everything we gave you growing up." That was it. I hung up. Didn't say goodbye. Didn't yell. Just ended it. When my husband got home, I told him everything. He didn't flinch. He listened, then quietly walked to the hall closet and pulled out a worn folder. The kind we used when we were newly married and trying to keep every receipt, every document, every plan in order. He flipped to the last page and showed me a number circled in red. "Our current savings." He said, "It's enough. Go. Let's buy a house. New district. New neighbors. New everything. Let them burn their bridges. We're not standing on the other side anymore." I didn't even answer. I just nodded. That was the first moment I felt air return to my lungs in weeks. That night, while my husband searched Zillow listings and my son drew spaceships on the back of a takeout menu, my phone buzzed again. It was from my sister. No long rant. No hashtags. No blame this time. Just 2 photos. The first was a receipt for a storage unit, 3 months prepaid with my parents' name on it. Address on the other side of town. The second was a photo of a crumpled, handwritten letter. The kind of yellow paper my dad used to keep in a drawer for jotting down important notes. It was addressed to me. In his handwriting. The photo cut off most of the bottom, but I could make out the first few lines. "Nicole, if this is goodbye, then there's something you never knew. Your sister's first birthday. We couldn't afford gifts for both of you. We chose her. And we kept choosing." That's where the photo ended. No second page. No explanation. No closure. She didn't send the rest. And I didn't ask for it. I didn't open the second photo right away. I watched it sit there unopened like a package I wasn't sure I wanted to touch. My sister hadn't sent any words, no explanation. Just the image. And part of me wondered if she even read it before she hit send, or if she sent it just to twist the knife a little deeper. Eventually, curiosity won. I tapped it. The lighting was terrible, but the writing was clear enough. Same yellow paper. Same pen. Same slanted, slightly uneven letters I'd seen on birthday cards growing up. My dad never used punctuation the way he was supposed to. He wrote how he talked, fast, incomplete, and usually without the things that mattered most. But not this time. It said, "We chose her. We kept choosing her. Not because she needed it more, but because you didn't ask for anything. We didn't think you'd notice. You were quiet. You were easy. You never complained. It made it easier to keep giving to the one who made noise. That doesn't mean we were right. It just means we were lazy. And selfish." I stopped reading and set the phone down for a second. It felt like the wind had been knocked out of me. I'd spent years believing they didn't know. That maybe they were just unaware. That they didn't see how much they gave her while I stayed on the sidelines. But they did know. They noticed. They just decided not to care enough to fix it. I picked the phone back up and kept reading. I don't know how to undo what we did. I don't expect you to forgive us. But I want you to know that you were the one we should have invested in. You grew up and became the strongest person in this family. I saw it. I just never said it. Not once. And I'm sorry. For that. For everything. I always thought there would be time. That was the end. No signature. No goodbye. Just those words. I stared at it for a long time. Then I set it aside and walked into the kitchen. My husband was there making popcorn for movie night. He looked over and asked if I was okay. I didn't answer right away. I just walked over, wrapped my arms around his waist and stayed there. Eventually I said, "We're never going back, are we?" He said, "No, we're not." The next morning I forwarded the moving truck confirmation to their landlord. I told him they had until the end of the week. I didn't offer to help them pack. I didn't ask where they were going. I didn't want to know. That same afternoon my mom texted. Just a short message. "Saw the truck. Thank you. I hope one day you understand." I read it twice then deleted it. There was nothing left to understand. They understood what they were doing when they did it. Every skipped birthday. Every missed call. Every Christmas where my son got a sweater and my sister's twins unwrapped entire Lego cities. It was never about forgetting. It was about choosing. And I was done being the one who didn't make noise. By Wednesday they were gone. Moved out. No forwarding address. My sister posted a vague story about starting over and clean slates. I didn't watch the whole thing. Instead, I watched my son in the backyard of the house we were about to buy. It had a lemon tree, a little patch of dirt he could turn into a garden, and a creaky swing set that he'd already claimed as his. He came running up to me and said, "Can we plant carrots?" I said, "Of course." Then he asked if we were still going camping for his next birthday. I told him we were. Just us. He nodded like that was exactly what he wanted. That night I tucked him into bed and stared at the bookshelf we'd built together. The one filled with stories he never gets tired of. Stories where the underdog wins. Where the forgotten ones rise. Where the quiet kids become the heroes. For the first time I realized that's who I'd become. Not the angry daughter. Not the bitter sister. But the woman who chose peace and meant it. The week after they moved out it was like the air changed. Not just in our apartment but in my body. I felt lighter. My chest didn't tighten when my phone buzzed. I didn't wake up dreading some emotional ambush from a blocked number or a guilt-drenched voicemail. Silence used to scare me. Now it felt like freedom. We put in an offer on the house with the lemon tree. It was accepted that Friday. When we told our son, he hugged me and said, "Can we bring the Legos?" I told him we'd bring everything. That nothing was being left behind. And I meant it. I thought that would be the end of the story. But karma's funny. It waits. It doesn't always come fast. It doesn't always look like you think it will. But when it arrives, it makes sure you recognize it. 2 weeks after the move, I got a message on Facebook from someone I didn't know. A woman named Trish. Said she was the manager of a daycare center in a different state. Said she was trying to reach someone in the family because my sister had listed me as her emergency contact. I stared at the message for a long time before answering. Turns out my sister had moved 3 states away. Mark, her boyfriend, had left a week after the move. She was now working part-time at a grocery store and had enrolled the boys at a daycare she couldn't afford. When her payment bounced, they tried calling her but she never answered. When they went through her emergency contacts, mine was the only number that hadn't been disconnected. I told Trish politely that I was no longer in contact with my sister. That I couldn't be of help. He understood. But 2 days later the boys showed up at our front door. No warning. No call. Just a knock in the early evening. My husband opened it thinking it was a neighbor. And said he found my parents. And my sister. And her kids. They looked exhausted. My sister's face was streaked with mascara. My mom clutched a bag that looked like it had been packed in a rush. My dad didn't say anything. I didn't let them in. She said she didn't know where else to go. That she'd made a mistake. That she was sorry. But I didn't hear the words I needed. I didn't hear I was wrong. I didn't hear, "You didn't deserve this." She just said, "You don't understand what it's like." I told her she was right. I didn't. Because I'd never been given the chance to fall apart. I was always the one expected to hold it all together. My mom tried to push past the door. My husband stepped in. Told them to leave. My dad didn't say a word the entire time. Just stood behind them looking at the floor. He couldn't even meet my eyes. My sister begged. Said they were out of options. That the boys didn't do anything wrong. That they missed me. That they loved their cousin. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just said, I forgave the debt. But not the damage. Then I shut the door. They didn't knock again. They left. I don't know where they went. I haven't heard from them since. And here's the part no one prepares you for. The sadness doesn't leave all at once. It lingers. It visits when the house is quiet. When birthdays come. When your son says something kind and you wonder who he learned that from, because it definitely wasn't from the people who raised you. But eventually even that fades. We moved into our new house a month later. The lemon tree bloomed. My son planted carrots in the backyard. My husband started painting again. I found myself writing late at night, not stories about pain but about peace. About people who choose themselves and don't apologize for it. Sometimes I think about them. About my parents. My sister. I wonder if they still blame me. If they even remember what they did. But it doesn't matter anymore. Because I learned the hardest truth of all. Some people won't love you the way you need. Even if they raised you. Even if they say they do. And you have to let them go anyway. So I did. It's been almost a year since I shut that door. People assume when you cut off family there's some big dramatic scene. Shouting final words, slamming doors. But the truth is the real ending is quiet. It's in the small things that don't happen anymore. No more waiting for texts that never come. No more bending over backwards to keep a fake peace. No more pretending. We've been in the new house 8 months now. It still smells like fresh paint. My son has his own room, decorated exactly the way he wanted. Glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling, a bookshelf full of space stuff, and a poster of a robot riding a dinosaur. He's never asked about them. Not once. I don't know if that's because he forgot or because he remembers everything too well. The carrots sprouted in June. We made a whole event out of pulling them. He washed them in the sink like they were gold nuggets. He said, "It's weird that you can grow something from nothing." I smiled but didn't answer. I was thinking the same thing about myself. In August I got an email from a debt collector. Not for me but for my sister. Apparently she used my name once as a backup reference. Years ago. They were trying to reach out. I responded politely, stating we were no longer in contact. The collector thanked me. That was it. Nothing explosive. Just a thread snipped. Sometimes I wonder if they think I'm cruel. I wonder if they sit in some rented apartment and tell stories about how ungrateful I turned out. Maybe they tell their version of it. The one where I snapped over nothing and walked away from the people who loved me anyway. Let them. Because I've learned that love isn't something you prove by staying. It's something you honor by knowing when to leave. A few weeks ago my husband and I sat on the back steps, sipping coffee while the sun came up. He said something simple. Something that stuck. "You don't owe anyone your peace, Nicole." And that's what it was. That's what I'd spent my whole life giving away. My peace. To people who never noticed when it was gone. Now I notice everything. My son's laugh in the morning. The quiet hum of our house at night. The way my husband squeezes my hand when we pass each other in the kitchen. The small, quiet life we built. One without apologies, without begging, without debt will never be paid back. There's no punchline to this story. No twist. Just this truth. Sometimes you grow up thinking you're hard to love because no one ever loved you the way you needed. But the truth is you were never the problem. They just weren't capable. And that's not your burden to carry anymore.